Hey, what's going on, guys? Sorry, it's kind of been a while, but we've been writing our fan fiction. Then that's kind of taken most of our time. Sorry if any of you guys were wanting more videos. I don't know why you would, but So I just decided to do. So what I'm just gonna do today is I'm gonna do an audio version of Daughter of Iris, which is our fan fiction, and I guess I'll just do chapters 1 and 2 right now, and then if you guys want chapters 3 and 4, then I will make another video doing those two. So this is just, if you guys are Percy Jackson fans, then, well, you might like this. So the first part is just our author's note. I won't read that, but then Aria's point of view. The horse dudes had been chasing me for a few days now. Whether they wanted to kill me or party, I wasn't sure. I knew that I would eventually tire, and the things were gaining on me by the second. I glanced up, and I saw a run-down gas station. Literally, the convenience store looked like it had been around since the ancient Egyptians. I decided to stop for a respite. Okay, sorry guys, this is just me again, but respite was actually one of my vocab words for school, so yeah, it means rest, in case you guys didn't know, but you probably do. So, back to the story, I guess. I have to admit, looking back, that wasn't my brightest moment. I ran into the bathroom and, locking the door behind me, I jerked around and I was startled by the unrecognizable face in the mirror. The face I saw looked grungy, and her mascara was smeared due to much exposure to the elements. Her rose-gold hair was caked with dirt, but her braid somehow still hadn't fallen out. To sum it all up, she looked just about as dirty and brazen as the horsemen. I realized I was the girl in the mirror. I heard a large bang, a few crashes, and a young girl screaming. Silently, I prayed that wasn't the same girl I saw riding out her bike outside. If anything happened to the innocent child, I would be overcome with guilt since I had led them here. I gently opened the door, and I saw the horse things breaking down the front door, with a mad but unintelligent gleam in their eyes. Did they not realize all they had to do was turn the doorknob? I mean, they had arms. The door finally gave way, and they came barreling through. It would have looked impressive, but they were still running, so they hit the opposite wall. "Aha!" the largest one yelled with triumph. I pegged him as their leader almost immediately. "Where is Ariana? I want to make her my wife and queen. Show me the daughter of Iris, and you will be rewarded." The cashier quickly pointed to me, the only person in the store. I squeaked, "It's Aria." "Same thing," the horseman said with an embarrassed laugh. I have to say, he did do a pretty good job of making himself look dumber than he had originally. His wife, though, that wasn't part of the job description. "Why me?" I piped out hysterically. He replied, saying, "Well, the last girl I tried to marry, I think her name was Atalanta. She shot me in the heart. But alas, I am alive and well again. Thank you for your concern. Since she didn't work out, I decided to go for a weaker prey, like yourself." "Geez, what a charmer," I muttered to myself. Apparently, the things had good hearing, because he looked at me and raised an eyebrow as if to say, "I know." "Honestly, I feel so lucky that you chose me to be your bride," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Apparently, the leader was either really dumb or just not paying attention, because he just nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. It is a great honor to even meet King Centaurus." I couldn't help starting to giggle at his unfortunate name. Maybe I was really starting to become completely mad. I could just imagine King Centaurus starting to sing the American national anthem. Suddenly, I started to get dizzy, and I realized that I should have taken my inhaler 30 minutes ago. Oops, my bad. Wait, a new voice said from behind Mr. Horsey. Two guys disintegrated into a fine yellow powder, and the powder slowly fell to the floor. The other centaurs and I watched in a horrified and surprised shock. "Nobody is getting married today," the mysterious boy said with a threatening glare, daring someone to oppose him. Centaurus froze, and then he turned to dust, a spear point piercing his chest. "Sorry about that. I'm hoping you weren't actually going to marry him, but if you were, you might have to postpone the wedding until he reforms. He sheathed his golden spear, now caked in almost as much dust as my hair. Thanks, I said, putting out my hand for him to shake. I felt that since he saved my life, I should be polite. I'm Arya. He just looked at my hand as if he had never shaken someone's hand before, and plainly said, AJ. I assumed that was the boy's name, but by the way he said it, it sounded more like a cough. He cleared his throat and said, with a clear and confident voice, AJ. His name sounded kind of like RJ, my cousin. I decided not to think of him that way since my experience with RJ had been less than pleasant. Far less. I remembered the embarrassing prank that he had pulled. I almost changed schools because of it, but my friends talked me out of it. I chose to be friends with all the least popular people, from gamer geeks to reading nerds, but Mikalele, the most popular girl in the grade, loved me. I smiled at the thought. AJ seemed nice enough, but I had learned to realize that when someone did a nice thing for you, they almost always expected something back. AJ stared at me blankly, and I realized that he was waiting for me to reply to a question I didn't hear. My face burned, and I tried not to sound stupid when I finally said, math. He looked at me like I was crazy, and I couldn't blame him. I asked what you saw. Oh, what did he mean? Well, I saw crazy centaurs chasing me, and I told him as much. He didn't call me crazy or walk away. His olive eyes regarded me. Centaur said that you were a daughter of Iris. I need you to get you to camp. He said camp with such disgust I wasn't sure I wanted to go there. Slow down. I need to go home. I have school, my friends, my dad in his garden shop. Aaron. Who's Aaron? My boyfriend. Oh. I swear his face fell when I said that, but he was quick and hid his feelings. So there we go. That's the first chapter, and then We Make a Grave Mistake is the second chapter, which I guess I can read. So the first part is, of course, just the author's note and dedication, which is totally lily pad. She gave the idea for this chapter. Arya's point of view. So if I could just call my dad to pick me up, I took out my phone. No, AJ knocked my phone out of my hand. You are going to attract monsters, and you are going to camp. It's the only safe place for people like us. His voice trailed off. Where is it? And if it's the only safe place for people like us, then why are you not there? Let's just say I know where I'm wanted. But they'll love you. AJ rolled his eyes with disgust. And you think this because... I said with obvious doubt in my voice. Not everyone accepted me. Sure, at my school I was considered popular, but there were always those people who would laugh and smile with me, but then I would see them trying to cover up the glare they had pointed at me. They love your mom, so they will love you. It's all about the parentage, AJ said with... Was that envy? I couldn't imagine why he would want to be me. But by the way he said it, I got the impression that he had first-hand experience with being rejected. I decided to interrogate him later, but I didn't want him to think I was the nosy type. Still, why did I even care what he thought? At school, I was known for hanging around the people no one liked, paying attention in class even though it made people think I was serious all the time, and I didn't badmouth the teachers like everyone popular did. And I knew that even if people didn't accept AJ, I would help other people to see that he was a good person, no matter who his parent was. Well, I still don't understand why I have to go to this camp, I stated. AJ just sighed and started talking as though I was 3. Well, you know that you have never met your biological mom, he started to explain. At the speed he was talking, that short sentence took about 15 seconds. I was going to get very annoyed at this very soon. Yes, I know. Now get to the interesting part before I fall asleep. He glared at me and, going 5 times as slow as before, continued explaining. I am so very sorry to bore you, but he took a long yawn, which then made me start to yawn too. My bad. Okay, I can't keep talking at that pace. Basically, the Greek myths are real, and both of us are children of the gods. Well, kind of. I'm the son of a titan. I couldn't help but wonder who he was going to say he was the son of. If I knew my Greek mythology better, I would maybe be able to figure it out. Sadly, I basically only knew a little bit about the Olympians. So, who am I the daughter of? I asked. I couldn't believe I was actually taking this seriously. I almost expected him to start laughing and yelling, I got you! Ha 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 ha! Okay, that laugh was really weird. Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, his face expression was dead serious. Well, let's get you to camp, he said after an awkward moment of silence. I did notice he never answered my question. Did he just not know? Maybe he told me and I just forgot. I seemed to say the words I just forgot on test days at school a lot. All at one moment, I remembered what Centaurus had said. Show me the daughter of Iris. Iris. And what goddess was that again? Maybe I was even worse at Greek mythology than I thought. Who was Iris again? I asked without warning. AJ stared at me as if I were an idiot. Maybe I was, but that's okay. It's better to have people think you're stupid than to open your mouth and prove it, AJ muttered to himself. I have good ears. Truthfully, I had no idea what he said, but I assumed that it wasn't complimentary. Let's get going before we attract more monsters. You have a strong scent for a daughter of Iris, and mixed with me, he shook his head in dismay. It's a wonder we're not dead yet. Gee, thanks for making me feel safe, I muttered under my breath. AJ said to himself, should I call for a satyr or put her in a box and ship her there? He said the second one loud enough for me to hear. I rolled my eyes at AJ and he just laughed. I just loved how this guy felt like he could say anything about me. Let's go to Starbucks. We're slowly making our way to camp. About a dozen monsters shadowed us. They didn't seem eager to move forward, but finally, one stupid monster ran. AJ didn't even flinch. He just stabbed his sword into the poor monster. The monster didn't die immediately, and he had time to say, I'm so sorry. Don't take revenge on my family. Finally, the snake monster lady died with a shriek. Did monsters normally say sorry after they tried to kill you? I could just imagine sitting down with one drinking a cup of tea. Then the monster would say, in a British accent, I'm so sorry to inconvenience you, but I have to kill you now. Would you like one more crumpet and another cup of tea before you die? I started giggling hysterically, which then turned into me bawling. It's not fair. My life is over. AJ gave me a weird look. I have to admit, I sounded like your typical teenager. Next, I'll be asking to get a caramel latte from Starbucks. Man, that did sound pretty good right now, though. After 2 days, we arrived in New York City. AJ whistled and a taxi pulled over to the curb. He handed me a roll of cash. I was thinking hashtag rich girl moments. I'm gonna hit Starbucks and then I'll go to McDee's and get my nails done at the mall and go shopping at Nordstrom and hashtag blessed. And then we wrote a little author's note saying, LOL, sorry we had to add that in. So, I thought AJ was coming with me until he said, it was nice meeting you, Ariana. I mean, Aria. What? Because I had assumed he was coming to camp with me. I also can't say that I wasn't upset when he called me Ariana. Who does that, bruh? We had been traveling with each other for almost 4 days, and he still didn't know my name? Still, we hadn't talked much, but I assumed he knew my name. I was just about to pick up a big rock and throw it at his head when I saw him looking at me with a stupid grin on his face. He knew my name was Arya the whole time. I'll kill him. I got to the taxi cab and I said, "You see that boy over there? Can you drive next to him?" The driver nodded and he turned the car around. I rolled the window down and yelled to AJ saying, "I forgot to give you something. Come over here." He slowly walked over and came about a foot away from my window. I opened the car door, hitting him in the face. Ow! While he was stunned, I pushed him into the car. I barely had closed the door before I told the driver, "Drive." I was glad AJ didn't get knocked out, because then I wouldn't know where to tell the driver to go. AJ glared at me, and then he tried to make a great escape by opening the door and jumping out. I laughed because I had already told the driver to lock his door. Did the driver think I was kidnapping? Probably. Fortunately for me, he seemed half drunk. Wait, maybe that wasn't so great for me. I'm not promoting drunk driving. Never do it. The driver... Sorry for that weird voice. The driver pulled up to the spot that AJ told him to go, and he said sleepily, "Are you sure this is the right place? Nothing but hills." With that, we gave him his money. He just put it in his mouth and walked to the place that I could clearly see was a camp. "So normal people can't see magical stuff?" I asked AJ. He still glared daggers at me, but he nodded. "Missed." That was all he said. I didn't understand, but I don't think I was meant to. Okay, that was helpful. The mist makes mortals see anything but the truth. To the mortals, those centaurs probably just looked like robbers. I said that I understood, but I'm not sure I did. "Go on," AJ said, making pushing hand gestures. I pushed him and he almost fell down the hill, lol. "You're coming with me." And I know that lol is not how it's pronounced. I'm just doing it. It's LOL. I know that. Sorry. We walked down to the camp, with AJ trying to escape every minute. I grabbed his arm so he wouldn't get away. We got to a weird blue barn-looking thing, and I noticed a guy in a wheelchair. It wasn't the guy who bothered me, but it was who he was talking to. The things looked like Centaurus and his posse, minus the horns. They were wearing bright neon shirts that said, #YOLO unless you are a Greek monster on them. I screamed, and AJ saw where I was looking. He unsheathed his sword and gave it to me. Then he got out his spear and charged at the centaurs. I didn't really know how to use a sword, but I slashed at the monsters. We had disintegrated about 10 out of 20 of them when the man in the wheelchair yelled, "Stopped." At that point, the other centaurs had gotten their bows to shoot us, but at the man's words, they stopped. So did we. "How dare you kill my brothers," the man said to us. How can you be related to them? You're a man." After I said that, he stepped out of his wheelchair to reveal his true form. The man had a human top half, but his bottom part was of a white stallion. I stepped back. I had finally now realized that there were two types of centaurs, the good and the bad. Well, now I had both groups hating me. Joy. At least the leader had stopped them from murdering us. "By the way, I'm Chiron." The man said it like he assumed I would know who he was. I just stared at him, and he sighed and said, "It's sad how little modern people know about Greek mythology." "I'm guessing you're a half-blood?" Chiron put out his hand and I shook it. "Arya, daughter of Iris." "I'm just asking, who would name their kid after an eye part?" "Ah, you've brought her here, AJ. So how do we know we can trust her? After all, she did come with you," he said, continuing, "but I do believe in judging someone based on their actions. Overtime actions. You, of course, have already had yours." I didn't know what Chiron was talking about, but they had obviously met before. AJ hung his head in shame and muttered, "That was a long time ago." Chiron didn't look like he thought any better of AJ, but either way, I was his friend. "He saved me from monsters," I said in his defense. I would have said centaurs, but I didn't want to bring up the fact that we had just murdered 10 of them. "Does saving one person make up for killing 20? Chiron asked. I shook my head, but I just couldn't believe that AJ would kill people other than monsters. AJ's point of view. Did Chiron really have to go into the fact that I had killed people? He might have just made my only friend hate me. Sure, I was on Kronos' ship, the Princess Andromeda. What can you expect? I would turn against my father? No, I didn't like him, but I couldn't go against my dad. That would just be wrong. And come on, Chiron's a son of Kronos, too. He didn't know that I was, but I have no intention of telling him. Brothers, no thanks. So that was the end of chapter 2, and we have 2 more chapters if you want to go check that out. So I'll see you guys later. Bye! What? Well, see you guys.